I don't know. I mean, yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, I lost last time. We'll just see. But meanwhile, I just see kind of a garbled screen. It's got the agenda and it's got a couple of you up on top. Well, maybe it's got you all. I guess it's got you all. Hey, awesome. Okay, real good.
Hello.
All right, good to go.
Okay, let's call the meeting to order, the Transportation Commission meeting of September 17th. Can we have a roll call, please?
Actually, before roll call, we have an item on the agenda.
Sure enough, yes. Thank you. I would like to welcome our new student commissioners. And I'm excited to have all three of you. I apologize for not being able to attend your orientation. Can we hear from each of you? Tell us a little bit about yourselves and what name you'd like to go by with us, that kind of thing.
And how about let's go alphabetically by last name. So let's start with Nihar Atri.
Okay.
My name is Nihar. It's pronounced Nihar. I'm a senior at Edina High School, and a little bit about me. Well, I obviously love transportation. That's why I'm on this commission. Uh, Such as biking, rollerblading. I just love being outside, spending time, exercising, especially.
Fabulous. Well, thank you, Nihar. We're excited to have you with us.
And then we have Anna Clark.
1 second. Hi, I'm Anna Clark. I'm a sophomore at Edina High School. And a couple things about me. I love to hang out with family and friends, love going outside, love the outdoors, and I play volleyball, which is
cool.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Great. We're really glad to have you, Anna. Thanks for joining us.
And then Anand Kariwala.
Hello, I'm Anand Kariwala. I'm a sophomore at Edina High School, and I enjoy biking and skiing.
Fantastic. Anand, we're really glad to have you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
You probably learned a little bit about how the meetings are run, but it's even a little bit goofier because we're virtual at the moment. But do feel free to speak up. We are always really excited when our student commissioners participate. So with that, Andrew, roll call?
Certainly. Commissioner Aller.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Kane.
Here.
Commissioner Lafferty.
Present.
Commissioner McCarthy.
Here.
Commissioner Plum-Smith.
Here.
Chair Richmond.
Here, by the grace of something.
Commissioner Ruthruff.
Here.
Commissioner Shearer. Commissioner Atri.
Here.
Commissioner Clark.
Here.
Commissioner Kariwala.
Here.
Excellent. Is that all? That's a lot of people.
Oh.
Real good. Okay. Let's move on to the approval of the meeting agenda. Do I have any discussion on that, or I'll take a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Okay. Moved and seconded. All in favor? We have to do the roll call to do this, don't we?
Yep.
Okay.
Oops. Commissioner Aller.
Aye.
Commissioner Kane.
Aye.
Commissioner Lafferty. Commissioner Lafferty.
Probably muted, Peter.
I don't know. I don't see him there either. So maybe he's off in the sand dunes of the beach.
He was on a few minutes ago.
There he is.
Yeah, he's still on the call.
Hey, you're muted. Say aye.
Sorry, I had to hydrate.
Commissioner Lafferty, vote to approve the agenda.
Approved. Yes.
Okay, I'll take that as an aye. Commissioner McCarthy,
Aye.
Commissioner Plumsmith,
Aye.
Chair Richmond,
I,
Commissioner Ruthruff,
Aye.
agenda approved.
real good. Next, we will have approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes as written.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please vote aye to signify your approval of the minutes. Andrew?
Commissioner Aller,
Aye.
Commissioner Kane,
Aye.
Commissioner Lafferty,
Aye.
Commissioner McCarthy,
Aye.
Commissioner Plumsmith,
Aye.
Chair Richmond,
Aye.
Commissioner Ruthruff.
Aye.
Minutes approved.
Excellent. And now we come to special recognition and presentations. Andrew, did you have anything special, or should we just talk about how great Eric is?
Yeah.
I think we should just talk about how great Eric is.
Okay, Eric, would you tell us what you're planning here?
I am, for good or bad, leaving my house in Edina at the end of the year and moving to a larger house in Plymouth. So
Congratulations
because
on
I
that.
won't be in Edina, I can't be on the Transportation Commission anymore. But I wish you all well.
Yeah. How long will you be at our October meeting?
I think I was going to drop off after this, after
Okay.
tonight's meeting, just
Okay.
because my evenings are going to be shuttling up to the other house, painting,
Yeah.
that sort of
Yeah.
stuff. And we're going to do a lot of remodeling before we move in.
Oh, that's good. Well, as chair, I probably get to say something first, which is it really has been a pleasure to serve with you, Eric. We
Thanks.
will for sure miss you. I've enjoyed the chances that you and I have had to work together.
Yeah.
And I'll miss having you. Thank you so much for your great work on
Sure.
a number of things, including the circulator bus, your
Yep.
leadership on the circulator bus. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're
Anyone else? Okay. Then let's move into the traffic safety report of September 1st. Okay. Is that as tiny for everybody else as it is for me?
It is darn tiny.
It's really tiny. Well, that's a little better. Thank you, Andrew.
Mhm.
Okay, so the A items for which the Traffic Safety Committee recommends action, we've got a request for a crosswalk over 54th at Brookview Avenue. Either.
So this is putting in a bridge?
Well, what the staff recommended was a crosswalk, not a cross. Well, I don't know. Is the request, Andrew, for a bridge, a crosswalk over 54th, or is it for a crosswalk on 54th?
Sorry, the request is for a marked crosswalk to get across 54th Street
I see.
at Brookview.
So I can share a little bit about this. I didn't put this request in, but I lived on Brookview right across Martin Park, and I live 4 blocks from there now. There's basically been a widening of the sidewalk there that leads into Arden Park. And so there's a whole bunch of people that are consistently walking. Although I don't believe there's sidewalks on Brookview. I don't believe there is south of that there. But they start right there. The sidewalks start on the that would be the east side of the street and head into the park. And so I think they're just. I don't see any down. I would vote for it. There's no downside, and it would create a demarcation point for people to cross there.
Right. Is there a stop sign there?
There's a two-way stop on Brookview
Okay.
54th does not stop, but there's
Oh, okay.
there's an always stop just to the east at Minnehaha Boulevard, and there's also a marked crosswalk there.
Okay.
So,
So-
and Peter is correct. There's no sidewalk to the south on Brookview, but there is a new sidewalk to the north along Arden Park.
And they just widened that section. They just added a new section essentially from the corner, widening it, heading towards the park and the new entrance there.
So, and staff recommends doing the crosswalk. So, any comments, questions, or shall we move on? Okay, let's
I
move
just say
on.
I just say from a staff perspective, I think this is great to see that people are actually walking to Arden Park now that the new facilities have been put in.
Agreed. Okay, A2 is a request to improve the crosswalk on West 62nd at Pamela Park. This is, well, West 62nd was just reconstructed with the multi-use path on the south. And this one makes sense to me also. Comments, questions?
I agree. I think people are using West 62nd more now that 58th has been closed. So to get from Wooddale to France without going under Highway 62, there's a lot more traffic there right now.
Yes, there sure is, because I use it daily.
Why?
Okay, any comments, questions on that one? Great. The B items. So this first one, request to review stop control at West Shore Drive and Hibiscus. Andrew, you want to tell us about this?
Yeah, so the request was basically if I zoom into the intersection here, it's a little blurry, I apologize, but there's two-way stop control at the intersection right now, the stop condition being for West Shore, which is offset at this intersection. And the request was to see if, based on the traffic volumes on the two roads, if it would make more, well, initially we had a request to put in an always stop here, and staff determined that it didn't meet warrants for that. So then another request was made to see if the two-way stop control can be adjusted from West Shore to Hibiscus.
And staff suggests that the stop signs are placed in the right place.
So you can see the data here that was collected on
Right.
the traffic volume on West Shore and Hibiscus. And essentially the crux of the question is that with a two-way stop condition, generally the street that you stop is the street that has lower volume of traffic.
Uh-huh.
So the question was, maybe the stop condition was put in originally assuming that West Shore had less traffic than Hibiscus, but perhaps things have changed since then. And you can see here the data that we collected. West Shore does have, from what we observed, West Shore does have a little bit more traffic than Hibiscus, but we believe that because taking into account the offset of the intersection and the scope or the magnitude of the difference between the traffic volumes and the crash history, the fact that no crashes have been reported here in the last 10 years, we don't see a strong enough reason to change the traffic control condition.
Okay.
So,
Comments?
Andrew,
Sir.
so this data that we are looking here is the data that you and I talked about, where he has, where Nick put the tubes on West Shore, right? Far down.
He had tubes originally, but then he followed them up with video.
Yeah, I was monitoring this daily. I haven't seen that the tubes actually. I was hoping the tubes would be on Hibiscus. So I have no clue where you got this data from Hibiscus, because there were no tube on Hibiscus.
Well, this data was from video counts that he collected. So you wouldn't have seen a tube in the road. You would have seen a camera on a pole off to the side.
Well,
And keep in mind that
you and I talked.
traffic safety reviewed this on September 1st, so he would have collected this sometime mid to end of August.
Yeah, you and I talked, that day when I was at the intersection. There was supposed to be a camera, but there was not a camera. And looking also at this data, I mean, I didn't see a camera. I didn't see a tube on Hibiscus. And if there was a camera, when was it installed? Was it installed at the same time as you put the tube down on the West Shore?
I know that the cameras were installed after the tubes. I don't know if there was
so
overlap in the time that they were installed.
Doesn't that basically corrupt the data, because you have you're measuring at two different times, right? So the tubes were there, the camera came way later, like a week later or so.
Except the data that we're presenting here is strictly based on the video count.
And Andrew, are you saying that the video count was on both streets at the same time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I believe he might have had to put up 2 cameras in order to properly collect it.
I would think so. Is that, just out of curiosity, is that video, are those videos available? Like if Bokar wanted to look at the videos, would he be able to?
If he wanted to request the videos, yes, we could make those available to him.
Okay. I was just curious. Bokar, anything else?
No, I think that's it, but this intersection is absolutely similar to the one we worked on in your neighborhood, Lori, right? So we ended up having a petition from the citizens, and we ended up getting 4 signs, right? 4 stopway signs. And I don't see any difference with this one.
In terms of the nature of the intersection, or because I haven't seen a petition with all of the.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. In terms of the visibility, lack of visibility, and coming off of West Shore when you're trying to get into Hibiscus, so there's a lack of visibility at that 4-way stop.
I'm sorry, I can't speak to the similarity because I don't know this intersection well enough.
No, Andrew knows that very well.
So,
Andrew, I would say if residents do want to submit a petition, similar to the way that residents petition for the all-way at Beard and 57th, they're certainly welcome to do that. We'll have it go through the same process.
Isn't it what they did before when they talked about having a sidewalks or 4-way stop sign, at least?
The original petition that we received back in, I think May, it was April or May, was just for a sidewalk. There was some conversation about how a potential sidewalk relates to pedestrian safety. So it's related to the same issue.
Yeah. I think we can move on. If
okay.
Lori is okay with that.
Okay. Yep. We're ready. Okay, this is asking for a stop sign at the southeast corner of Normandale Road and Southview Lane.
Actually, there is a stop sign there. It's just asking for it to be relocated.
Okay. And this is saying it's going to keep the stop sign in its current location, and they'll replace the post. Is that right? With a surface-mounted breakaway post?
Yeah, I'll see if I can get to a street view to explain it a little bit better. So the sign that's there right now is embedded into the concrete sidewalk. Which means that if it gets hit, a panel of that sidewalk has to be completely removed and replaced in order to replace the pole. So there's the sign.
Okay.
You can see it's embedded in the concrete.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
So, and the school is concerned from a maintenance standpoint because their equipment has to try and avoid hitting the
Right.
sign in the winter.
Okay.
So what Public Works is planning to do is replace this post with what we call a surface mount post, so that it's not embedded in the concrete. And if it were to get hit, it could be replaced much simpler, much quicker.
And
Okay.
I'm presuming that the equipment is because they're clearing the sidewalk, not from the south side, right?
Correct. Correct.
And then my only question was with a breakaway is making sure that if it gets hit and falls over, that it's not going to injure the person that's operating the equipment. I wasn't sure which would create more of a hazard, one that would break off or one that wouldn't.
Sure. I guess I would assume, without having intricate knowledge of what kind of equipment they have to clear the sidewalk, I would assume, generally speaking, if they hit the pole, that it's probably most likely to fall away from someone in the equipment rather than toward them. But I can't say for sure.
So, have there been any issues with it, or is it just a?
I guess it depends on who you ask. According to our Public Works department, they don't recall ever having replaced this sign in 10 years, 15 years, something like that. Unfortunately, there's not really anywhere, there's not really a lot of other places to put the sign, because we don't have a lot of boulevard here, and sight lines are a little bit obstructed by the ramp for the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Usually, when you put a slip base, the breakaway slip bases, when you put them in, it's just basically if someone hits it, the post doesn't turn into a spear or doesn't impact their cars. So basically, the goal is that post would break because of the slip base, the 3 junctions, and then the car can drive over it, right? Is this something you would want to do during the construction project, or?
I guess I would say the purpose of a breakaway is more so that if it is hit, rather than bending and potentially coming back and hitting a person or whatever kind of equipment hits it, that it breaks and it falls apart right there. But then the mount on the surface remains in place, so it's designed to break just above that, so that a new post can be inserted and it can be replaced really quickly.
I understand this very well. But there's also a possibility of replacing that post over and over and over, because when you change this post, it looks like you have a U-channel post here, right?
Correct.
So when you put the breakaway, you're gonna put in basically square tube, right? So the goal is when it breaks, you take that part out, you put in a new post, you go on. But there's a cost that may get involved in this over and over for the city.
Correct. But again, our Public Works Department doesn't recall this sign being hit in the past. And I will say that cost is, in the scenario you described, is less expensive than having to continually replace this concrete panel.
Does it need to be replaced?
I'm going to suggest that we move on. And Bokar, I think if you want to follow up with Andrew on the side about the mechanism to replace the base of that sign, it makes sense to me that you maybe do that offline.
No, but Lori, no. I think this thing, I don't think it makes sense to replace it right now, because it's not a hazard, it's not an issue. It's been there for a long time. Keeping it saves money for the city.
I see.
So, Boca, would you recommend we wait until if it gets hit, then you replace it with a breakaway sign as opposed to doing it now?
Absolutely. Not right now.
Well, as I recall, maybe I'm wrong, but it sounded like it caused some difficulty for the schools in terms of their clearing the snow and all that. Maybe that's minor. I don't know. Andrew, what would you like us to do about this?
I guess if you want to recommend that staff doesn't take any action right now, you could certainly do that. If there's enough members of the commission that are in support of such a recommendation.
Okay, well, then I'll take a motion if folks want to vote on this one.
Can I ask you a question before we make a motion?
Sure.
Andrew, so I'm looking at the second bullet point. It says the school maintenance people, they say, hey, the problem is we keep hitting this thing. And if we change it to a different one, it doesn't change that fact, right? They'll just keep hitting it. Now it might fall down more easily, but it won't hurt the sidewalk, but it hasn't hurt the sidewalk in a number of years. Would that really address their concern, or are they asking us really to somehow move it out of their line of work, which I don't see how we could do that? You see what I mean? See the second bullet point? Does this address their concern, this idea?
So no, and I guess I would recategorize their concern to be, again, I'm not sure exactly if they are claiming that they've hit it in the past. I think my understanding is they're more concerned that there's a risk of hitting it, and that it makes plowing the sidewalk in this particular area a little bit more difficult, or maybe it's more labor intensive than along the rest of the sidewalk. So no, replacing it as is with a surface mount pole does not address that concern that they are raising.
And when it says that this is slotted to be replaced by a shared use path, is that on the calendar, or it's just in our plan?
It's in the plan, but it's not on the 5-year schedule.
Okay.
So it does say that, the bullet points say, yes, it impedes their winter maintenance operations, and it says work vehicles have reportedly hit the post past, I guess, due to it being mounted in the concrete sidewalk. So, but it hasn't broken it. So I guess what Bokar is saying kind of makes sense to me. I don't know why you wouldn't just sort of table this until you upgrade to a shared use path.
I concur with Bokar.
So is there a motion?
Yes,
And that is?
is to table this until the construction time.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Andrew, you want to do roll call, please? So please signify by saying aye if you agree with the motion to do nothing to this stop sign until the upgrade to the shared use path.
May I ask a question
Sure.
again? Because I just want to make sure that it gets communicated back to the school district that we can't move it. That's why we're saying we shouldn't replace it. So what is there a process that this would be communicated back to? I just don't want to vote to not replace it and then not explain why.
Right.
Yes, good question. So the Edina Public Schools in this case would be treated just like any other resident who makes a request. So we would follow up with them following the commission meeting, and then let them know that they have an opportunity to address city council before they make final approval. So this will be communicated back to Edina Public Schools.
Okay. And when you do that communication, the communication would include that the Traffic Safety Committee actually had recommended to keep the stop sign in its same place, just replacing what's embedded in so it wouldn't solve their problem in either case.
Correct.
I'm sort of feeling like I want to know if they think it would be safer if it were a breakaway post before I decide that we shouldn't put in a breakaway post.
There's no data that shows anything. So
Yeah, it would be nice to clarify their concern. It sounds to me, it looks like that is kind of a narrow spot there. The maintenance people are saying, hey, can't you do something because this is narrow and we keep hitting this thing. And it's not kind of with Bokar on this. I'm not sure it really addresses their particular problem. So maybe we could ask them more about their concerns, I suppose.
Yeah, that's why I'm questioning. I agree that this won't fix the problem for them. So it's sort of like, I'd rather say we can't move it because there's no place to move it. If there's a concern that it's, a hard thing that they're running into, would it be any better if it were a breakaway? And if not, then
would it damage their equipment less if it were a breakaway?
That's kind of what I'm wondering.
That's a good question.
So, Andrew, is one option that we take this one back to the Traffic Safety Committee to communicate with the school district about this?
Yes. Yep. That could be a recommendation. We do have a motion on the table that's been seconded.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I think that would help find a viable solution than just that. Okay, I feel like that would be a band-aid and also a band-aid that costs a lot of money to the city.
Yep. So, Andrew, in the situation that we have right now, which is where there's a motion that is on the table, and I think that we are saying we don't want to vote on that motion. Well, how do we strike the motion?
Somebody withdraw it.
Yeah, I would say Bokar could either withdraw it or he could amend it, and then it would need to be seconded again.
I think we should amend it with what we just discussed, and then we move it forward. That's what I would suggest.
Okay, so the amended motion, Bokar, would be to send this one back to the Traffic Safety Committee to communicate with the school district about their proposed solution?
Correct. And then so we can find them a viable solution, whether the breakaway would, fix from what Mindy asked or suggested, if the breakaway will fix the issues or not.
Okay, good. So there's a motion now. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, then I think we're ready for roll call.
Commissioner Aller,
Aye.
Commissioner Kane,
Aye.
Commissioner Lafferty,
Okay, aye.
Commissioner McCarthy,
Aye.
Commissioner Plum-Smith,
Aye.
Chair Richmond,
Aye.
Commissioner Ruthruff,
Aye.
Commissioner Shearer. Motion passes.
Hi, Matt.
Hey, sorry I was late. I was dealing with bedtime and kids.
Understood. Okay, we're on B3, which is a request for a blind driveway sign specific to Gleason Road, just past Creek Valley Road. And Andrew,
Makes sense.
it makes sense to me too. It says that the sightlines are primarily obstructed by the property owner's trees and vegetation, and that you are suggesting that they trim the vegetation. Will they have to take out trees in order to get a decent sightline?
Not necessarily. I don't think. Let me see if I can get to the location in question here really quick. Went too far. So it's this driveway for this property.
Okay.
You can see it's a horseshoe driveway, and this is the curve. And these are there's a little retaining wall, but there's also the trees and vegetation here.
Okay.
Well,
Like they wouldn't have to take out trees. They may have to trim back some branches though.
to the point of the last one that we just went over, you'd have to install that in the concrete.
Right. Okay. Any comments or questions then on B3? Okay, B4. Complaint of vehicle speeds on West 72nd Street. And what are they asking for exactly?
Essentially, at this point, they're asking for ways to slow vehicles down. Yeah, traffic calming measures.
Yeah.
I think given that we're looking at changing speeds, or at least proposing that, it doesn't make sense to do anything until that's resolved regarding speed. That would be my recommendation.
I agree with you, Peter.
Yep, agreed.
I would agree with that. And the one other thing I thought of is, are there ways we can suggest to neighbors that they can slow traffic in their own neighborhood? Like the little signs that people put up in their own yard that say, kids playing, slow down. Or drawing pictures in the street.
or park on the street. That's one thing that I've suggested to people in the past. In this section in particular, there's no parking allowed on this block, right, just immediately off of France. But for the rest of the section, two-sided parking is allowed. And on-street parking has some side effect of calming vehicle traffic.
Real good. It is a collector street, so a local connector. So it is going to have maybe more traffic on it. Okay, we move on. Is that it on the Bs? Oh, Cs. Stop controls at West 59th and Kellogg. So they're going to look at that. I don't know that there's really much that we would want to say about the ones they're going to continue to look at, correct?
There might be. I guess
Okay.
I don't recall in this one that we necessarily were looking for any specific feedback from the commission, but certainly if they have them, we'll take that into consideration.
Hey, Andrew,
Yes.
the 3% east-west traffic didn't stop. Is that like, what's a normal percentage of people that don't stop? Does it stop fully, or is it just like completely roll it? I'm just curious.
Honestly, when I saw that 3%, I thought that was better than what I would expect to see at a stop sign. I don't recall offhand what the state or national average is for compliance at a stop sign, but I'll say compared to what we observed at, say, 72nd Street in Cornelia last year, even before we put in the curb extensions, I want to say that compliance rate was closer to, or the failure rate was closer to 20%.
Wow.
So whether or not that's reflective of all stop signs, I can't say. But to me, that 3% seems like a very low failure rate.
I thought so too. Okay, moving on to C2, which is a request for a pedestrian ramp on Kellogg adjacent to Edina Flats. I wasn't ever familiar with Edina Flats. Thoughts?
Is that the new thing that was just installed where across the street from where the Baskin Robbins was?
I
yeah.
believe so.
The ice cream place, the Edina ice cream shop, I believe is what it was called. Yeah.
Or well, when I was a kid, it was Baskin Robbins.
It was.
It was.
Yeah, 31 flavors.
So here's the sidewalk. You can see there's a ramp off of Valley View, but then I'm not sure how well the street view will show it. But the sidewalk continues up and basically terminates just like 4 feet short of this driveway, and there's no other ramp along the whole section to get out to the street. So some things that we're considering are, do we put in a ramp somewhere mid-block or at the end? Do we look at tying into that driveway, or do we look at extending the sidewalk to the intersection? Because there's only 2 more houses that we have to, 2 more yards that we have to cross to get it to the intersection.
When somebody puts a new project in like this, are they responsible for sidewalk in front of their place, or does the city do that? How does that work?
Do you mean construction or maintenance?
I'm talking about the flats. Like, was there already a sidewalk in front of that property or not?
There was not. That sidewalk, as part of that project, oh, I'm the wrong way. Turned around now. No, I'm facing the right way, sorry. Was no sidewalk on Kellogg prior to the project, but as part of the approval process, staff required them to put in a sidewalk.
Okay, so they're paying for it then, is what you're telling. Okay, that's what I was asking.
They've already paid for that sidewalk, correct?
Gotcha.
And that's pretty common, I would say, for private developments like that. If there weren't a sidewalk on Valley View, we would have required them to put in a sidewalk, but there already was one there.
I mean, I think it seems reasonable to take advantage of this and extend it, given that we're trying to add more sidewalk. I mean, it seems odd to have a dead end there if it is feasible. Again, I don't know if that's exactly what you're asking, but makes sense.
I guess I'm more just interested what the commission's thoughts are at this point. Like I said, it's a C item right now, so staff will be looking at it a little bit further and coming back with a recommendation. But
Andrew?
Yes.
I think I'd say, I mean, I'd personally be in favor of extending it all the way to the intersection. And I would clarify that with at no cost to the homeowners whose property it's going to cross. I don't know. I just feel like if in the planning commission, I think they also should think a little bit about this. Like when we're going through and doing more projects like this, it seems like they have an appetite to be allowing larger new construction, higher buildings like 44th Street, this one, etc. And if they do that, I think they should try to link it into, I don't know, the whole system if they're going to do stuff like this.
Just with living streets, for example. Yeah. I agree with Matt. That was Matt, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And Matt, to your point about at no cost to those 2 property owners, if the city were to, if we were to recommend putting in a sidewalk, then it would be paid for by the PAX fund.
Well, I know that I'm pretty sure there's like an area over here somewhere where a couple of years ago, the city recommended sidewalks on one block. It was like Tower and stuff. And then the other 2 blocks wanted it. So they ended up footing the bill themselves to get 3 sidewalks. So that's the only reason why I was saying it. I don't think it's like, it just makes it make sense. Does that make sense? Not at the cost of the home.
Yeah. And actually the project you're talking about, the city did pay for all of those sidewalks. They did petition for the sidewalks, you're correct, but the PAX fund paid for them.
Okay.
Going forward, Andrew, this might fit into the TDM guideline. One of the requirements for new development is connecting to existing, bike and pedestrian walkways.
Absolutely.
Hey, Andrew, one question as a new member here. I don't believe that it's been explained, and I think since I don't know it, probably the new people don't know it either. Is there a significance between A's, B's, and C's? I don't know other than they're different letters. Is there a priority there or something?
So they're different categories based on what staff's recommending. So the A items are items in which the the Traffic Safety Committee has recommended action.
Okay,
These are ones that the city recommends doing something. So in this case, we recommend installing a crosswalk. We recommend putting up new signage. The
Okay.
B items are where we recommend no action. And then the C items are generally rare, but those are items that the Traffic Safety Committee determines that we need to study further before we make a recommendation. And then the D items are items that are handled internally by staff, either because they have to do with enforcement or because they are associated with policies that the city has already approved regarding traffic management.
Thank you.
And that's it then, isn't it, Andrew? Any comments or questions on the D item? Then I will take a motion to approve the traffic safety report with the was there just one amendment to it?
Yep.
Okay, with the one amendment to it.
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, moved and seconded. I think we'll do the roll call.
I'm sorry, who was the second?
Lafferty.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner, oh, dang it. Computer keeps, there we go. Commissioner Aller,
Aye.
Commissioner Kane,
Aye.
Commissioner Lafferty,
Aye.
Commissioner McCarthy,
Aye.
Commissioner Plum-Smith,
Aye.
Richmond,
Aye.
Commissioner Ruthruff,
Aye.
Commissioner Shearer.
Aye.
Approved.
Alrighty, we get to move on then. And now I think it's yours, Andrew. 2021 roadway reconstruction projects.
Yes, it is. Whoops. Let's see. I get my presentation open and on the right screen. Whoops. That's not. There you go. Can you see, everyone see that okay?
Yep.
Okay. So what this is for is just an introduction to the projects that are being proposed next year, and an introduction of the transportation related elements. So I'm not going to get into super detail on the super specifics about the details of those elements, because our engineering staff will be presenting more details at the next meeting. So these are the two project areas, Grandview A, Melody Lake A and B, and Birchcrest C, which is 4-mile project area with over 300 properties. And then we have Creek Knoll A and B, which is a little over 1 mile, with 113 properties. Starting with the Grandview Melody Birchcrest project, some of you may recall we originally had this project area split up into 2 years, with the project area north of Grove Street proposed for 2021, but then we received a petition from the residents to postpone the reconstruction and combine it all into one project year constructed in 1 year. So we've done that. Benton Avenue, you can see, is excluded from this project because it's a municipal state aid route, and it has a different funding source for reconstruction and a different assessment policy. And Benton was also overlaid pretty recently. There's an at-grade railroad crossing on Hanson Road and West 56th Street. And right now the plan is to do full replacement and installation of curb and gutter. Multimodal facilities, there's an existing sidewalk on Hanson Road, south of Vernon, right along Garden Park. And then the Ped and Bike Master Plan proposes continuing that sidewalk, basically filling the gap on Hanson Road between sidewalks on 60th that were put in 2017 and the existing sidewalk by Garden Park. There's also a proposed sidewalk on 56th Street that goes all the way to Code Avenue, or sorry, goes all the way to Normandale Avenue The project area itself ends at Code Avenue, but that proposed sidewalk extends all the way out to Normandale. And then for bike facilities, the only bike facility in the project area that the Ped and Bike Plan recommends is a bike lane on 2 blocks of Code Avenue here between Benton Avenue and 60th Street. Most of the streets in this project area are classified as local streets. So reminder, the typical section for local streets is 27 feet without a sidewalk or 24 feet with a sidewalk. We have one local connector, and that's this section of Hanson south of Benton. Local connectors are recommended at 24 feet with a 5-foot boulevard and a 5-foot sidewalk. And then Hanson north of Benton is currently classified as a collector street, which has a typical section of either 40 feet or 32 feet with no parking. And that section includes a parking lane, bicycle lanes, 2 drive lanes, the boulevard, and the sidewalk. But recall that the entire section of Hanson does not have bike facilities proposed by the current Ped and Bike Plan. On Creek Knoll, this is right on the border of Edina and Minneapolis, or at least West 54th Street is. So we're communicating with the city of Minneapolis to determine what exactly the improvements on that street look like. This project is also recommended for full replacement and installation of concrete curb and gutter. For multimodal facilities, the only sidewalk that's proposed is along Beard Avenue from 54th to Minnehaha Creek. There's a pedestrian bridge there right now that it will connect to, as well as 2 sidewalks on 54th that are on the north side, on the Minneapolis side. And there's an existing sidewalk, Fuller Street, adjacent to St. Peter's Lutheran Church. And then there's also a proposed sidewalk on France Avenue on the east side that we're planning to construct at the same time. For bicycle facilities, there's an existing bike boulevard on 54th Street that includes pavement markings, and there's 2 or 3 traffic circles or mini roundabouts on 54th Street to help slow traffic. For transit facilities, recall the Metro E-line is going to be coming in a few years. That proposed alignment or approved alignment is along France Avenue, and there's a station that's being recommended for France and 54th, which would be right on the corner of this project area. And then from a living street standpoint, all of these streets are classified as local. So 27 feet with no sidewalk or 24 feet with a sidewalk. Looking at the project timeline just really briefly. So right now, their staff is in the process of finalizing the engineering studies and preparing estimates. In October, the Transportation Commission will get to review those studies and comment on them before they go to council. The public hearings will be in December of this year, and then construction will start in the spring next year through the fall. There's more information about these 2 projects posted on Better Together on 2 separate project pages. And that's all I have.
Great. Thanks, Andrew. Questions for Andrew? Comments?
Hey, Andrew, this is Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Could you just spend a little bit of time talking about the creek? Is it Creek Knoll?
Sure.
I was just curious, just to explain a little bit more. So we're like the lead on the project, but does Minneapolis give us some sort of funding transfer to help pay for the stuff that they own half of, or how does that work?
Sure. That's what we're trying to work out with Minneapolis right now. Some of you may recall a few years ago, there's another, actually it might be better if I just go to a map here. There's another piece of 54th Street on the other side of the creek that so here's a Creek Knoll project area. You can see the grade boundary with Minneapolis. There's on the other side of the creek, there's another section of 54th Street here, what we call Chowan Park D. That was reconstructed in 2019. Was it just last? No, 2018, I think. But half of that roadway is in Minneapolis. So in that case, what we did is we entered a cost share agreement with the city of Minneapolis that they would pay for, I believe it was curb and gutter and pavement within their limits. This project is a little different because we actually have properties on the north side, but we can't assess properties that are not in the city of Edina. So we're discussing with Minneapolis whether or not we're going to do like a partial reconstruction on 54th, or whether it's just or some kind of combination, and trying to determine whether or not, I guess it's up to Minneapolis, as far as I know, whether or not they're going to assess those adjacent residents or whether or not they're going to treat it as their own maintenance project.
Yeah, because I don't think Minneapolis assesses, do they?
I don't believe so. I'm not certain.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious. Thanks for the info.
The staff who presents in October will have more information on that topic.
Anything else for Andrew?
I had a. Go ahead. I was going to ask a question, but did somebody else have something? No? Okay, it was an echo. Andrew, did you say that Fuller Street, that there's a sidewalk just by the church? And is it part of the plan to extend that further on the,
So this
seems like sort of a lost sidewalk?
Can I stop for a second and ask that if anybody is having a lot of background noise, phones ringing, kids, all that kind of stuff, unless it's you, Andrew, and you're talking, if you could.
No, it was my phone, and I was talking.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, there have been a number of things. If folks could mute if they have a lot of background noise, that'd be super helpful. Thank you.
So, Mindy, to your question, this graphic here shows what's existing and what's proposed in the plan as far as sidewalks. So yes, that sidewalk on Fuller only extends the length of the church, and there is not proposed to continue further.
Okay, any additional questions? Thanks, Andrew. We're on our 2020 work plan updates. Clover Ride. Oh, this is this is special because this is Eric, your last report.
Okay, so I can't remember when we met. A couple weeks ago, we met with Jan, and I'll just run through my notes. You'll remember that when we started this, there was a there was a south route which was around Edina, and there was a north route, and they were struggling to get riders for the north route. And then eventually the city said to shut that one down, and they were going to look at reevaluating that in another year. And then the pandemic hit. So the plan right now is to continue the south route and not do anything else with the north route for a while. So that's to be determined in the future. Because of the pandemic, they are going to add dividers between the spaces where people sit, so that there is some sort of like a plexiglass or something like that in between people. Right now, they are allowing more than one person on the bus at a time. Remember at the beginning of the pandemic, they changed things around and they only allowed one person on the bus at a time. Now they're allowing more people, but they need to be spaced out. They are going to add some dividers so that they could get as many as 4 to 5 people on those buses at the same time. In looking at the routes, and the most popular destinations are still the Lunds and Byerlys on France and the Cub Foods. So that hasn't changed. The majority of people who ride that bus still pay the $3, and Darts wanted to emphasize that if somebody wanted to ride that bus and could not afford it, they would be allowed to be on the bus for free. Masks are mandated for all the for the driver and all the riders. And Darts has received some donations so that they can provide free masks on the bus if riders don't have them. Let's see. Right now, Clover Ride is averaging only about 8 or 9 riders per week. And you'll remember before the pandemic, it was, I want to say, closer to 30 or 40 in a week. So that's just where we're at right now. They've decided that they want to try to get this 8 to 9 riders per week up, increase that. So they want to do a little bit of marketing to try to get the word out that Clover Ride is still running, it's safe, and that after these dividers are up there, they really can handle more people on the bus than they're getting right now. So Jan, last time we spoke to her, was going to drop some comment cards on the Clover Ride buses to try to get some testimonials from those people who are currently riding it and saying, hey, we love this thing, it's worth it, and use that in some marketing to advertise Clover Ride to the city. And they're specifically going to try to market to some buildings on York Avenue, York Villa, York condos, and York Edina condos to see if they can pick up some additional riders. And so Andrew and Nicole, we're going to get some contacts to Jan from Darts for contacting those facilities to try to pass the word, maybe print something up, print the maps. I don't know if they were going to propose, if they got enough people interested in it, whether they would add a stop or if that would be a diverted stop to pick somebody up there. I think it's a diverted stop. Andrew, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I guess my takeaway is that the plan is to, like you said, market it to more of those properties off of York there and kind of between York and the hospital, and initially treat them as deferred stops, and then once we've collected some data to see where if any new riders are coming, we could evaluate potentially adding a location there as a new permanent stop.
Okay, and that is the end of that report.
Thank you so much.
May I ask a question?
Of course.
I'm curious if they've thought about even an informal survey of the facilities where it does stop, talking to maybe the person that's the activities coordinator. Because I'm curious, are people not riding it now because they now have all these delivery options that might be bringing things to them? Just something that might give us a sense of whether it's simply that they're concerned about health safety, or if there's any way we can get some general concepts.
I think the senior center is almost closed. I mean, it was closed for a while and then it's only open for very short times. It's not something where people can come and just hang out anymore. And I don't know but that was on the north route. That was not part of the south route. I don't know if they've talked about contacting any of the facilities along the south route. That's a pretty good idea, actually.
Yeah, that's something we could consider.
Because I'm guessing there's like activity coordinators that they probably already have. That's probably how they marketed it in the beginning, that they have someone at each of those facilities they've talked to before.
That's a good point, Mindy, that there's kind of twofold things that could be impacting ridership. One is the concern about safety and health, and two, that there's all these delivery options now that could potentially be fulfilling the need.
But still, I mean, the whole point of the Clover Ride was that people need to get out to get to groceries and stuff like that. And they'll still need to go out and get some of that stuff. Hey, Mindy, those were such good questions. You should consider being the lead commissioner on this one going forward.
I might do that.
Real good. Thank you, Eric.
Sure.
Initiative 2 is on traffic impact studies. I have no news. Andrew, have there been additional traffic impact studies that I'm not aware of?
There's been one, but they haven't come in for formal application yet.
Okay.
There's two developments right now that have gone in for sketch plan. One of them is 6600 France, and the other that was just in Tuesday was 7001 France. So again, those have only been in for sketch plan. We're waiting for them to submit formal applications before I pass on traffic studies.
Okay. So no news on that. TDM. Bruce.
Yes, I'll let Andrew weigh in on where the staff is. Just a couple other points to bring up. Kurt reached out to Melissa on the 494 commission to see if there was anything new or any more resources, things like that. But I don't think we've heard anything back from her yet. And one thing that had come out of the committee regarding promoting non-auto transportation was investigating a multi-use path on the west side of France. And this is a few meetings back, Andrew, but I think you had talked about maybe there'd be grant money to study something like that. I just wanted to bring that up for discussion.
Sure. I guess I recall conversations about a path on the west side. It's in the it's part of the Twin Loops facility that's in the Ped and Bike Master Plan, but I don't specifically recall a grant program. But I can look back in my notes. I'll say the update that I have is the schedule that I have now for adoption of this policy is that I'll bring it to the commission in October for comments to the Transportation Commission. The Planning Commission is going to review it in November, and then Council will review it in December.
Thank you. Thanks, Bruce. Initiative 4, which is on the framework. Andrew, your framework.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have no update on this. This is still taking a backseat to speed limits and TDM.
Okay. And we're on initiative 5. I don't know what to say about that. Yes, we do those. Or is that, oh, that's it. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at initiative 6. Okay, initiative 5 is on education.
Jill, would you like to take this one?
Sure. So, to get the word out about some transportation safety, from the last meeting, we decided that it could be advantageous to use social media. So Kirk, Minnie, and myself came up with a proposal to approach the communications department to use Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Nextdoor, and the idea was welcomed. So recently we put together 6 posts, mostly regarding bicycle law, bicycle safety, bicycle pedestrian and car safety. And we passed those along to Andrew, and we're planning to have a post go out once a week for 6 weeks, starting next Tuesday. Andrew, do you know if they were approved by the communications department?
I sent them to Jennifer. I actually just got an email from her right now asking for she needs a photo release from you and from Kirk's son. So I will send that off really quick. But I believe once that's done, then the plan is that the first post will be up next Tuesday.
Great. So I guess what we're asking the commissioners to do is, if you see the posts, please like them, because the more people that like the post or pass it along, the more visible it becomes. I believe there's some hashtags that will be included. So just keep an eye out next Tuesday. Did I cover everything, Mindy?
I think so.
Sounds great, you guys. Thank you so much for doing that.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So at the last commission meeting, it was pointed out that all of us who are sort of old were not clued into all of the current social media that teenagers use. Other than Instagram, what do you kids use that we need to be hitting?
Are you talking to the students?
I am.
Okay.
I would say Instagram is a good alternative, but you could also use TikTok, I guess.
Aha.
I
Hey,
don't
we
know.
missed that. We missed that one.
TikTok is my daughter, approved by my 11-year-old. That's certified. You could have a lot of fun with that one.
Any others?
I would have to agree with Mihar on TikTok. It's very popular right now.
So with TikTok, typically, quick videos, that means somebody has to be videoed. And it can't be just a static picture informing. And so it's a great idea if we can find a way to translate transportation issues into an entertaining video. So if you guys have ideas.
This seems ripe for these our
commissioners.
What the student commissioners to just jump all over this.
Yep.
We haven't told them they have an unlimited budget. I mean, sorry, they don't have an unlimited budget, but they could come up with something fun, and that'd be a great way to increase the exposure, and it would hit young folks.
Could go biking with a helmet and learn how to cross the street.
Yeah, I think they could do a lot of fun things.
Is there a video length limit to a TikTok post?
Is it 60 seconds?
60 seconds, but once it's out there, you've got the viewership of probably like an hour, unless someone's looking for it, until it becomes old. But I'll let the high schoolers
educate us.
So I would just ask that the three of you adult commissioners that are working on this education initiative connect with. Well, let me ask this: are any of our three new student commissioners interested in working on this one at all?
Yeah, I'd be interested. I guess yeah, sure.
So Lori,
Yes.
I believe we've completed our deliverable for this year.
Yep, that's true.
And I don't think it's on next year's plan. So do we want to put it on next year's plan?
Well, it's a good question, and we'll entertain that when we go through next year's plan.
Cool.
But
Okay.
I was thinking in the short term, though, we could share what the posts are that are going to be going out. If they would like, if any of our student commissioners would like to add something to TikTok on the same themes.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be official city posts that way, but it still gets the word out.
Does the city have a TikTok account though? Because historically there was security breaches and TikTok was just sold to Oracle. So it was actually going to be shut down for a while. So I don't even know if TikTok is on with the city. Andrew, do you know that?
The city does not have a TikTok account. There has been some discussion and some staff members have lobbied for the city to get a TikTok account. I believe the city of Minneapolis has a TikTok account, but I don't know of any others that do. But the other four platforms that these posts are going to be disseminated through are Facebook, Nextdoor, Instagram, and
Twitter.
Twitter. Thank you. I always forget about Twitter.
Okay, well, good work, education group. We could certainly talk about whether we want to add this back in for next year, but we'll do that in the next agenda item. So moving on, traffic safety reports, yes? Is that the last one, Andrew?
Second to last.
Okay.
Last is capital improvement projects and PAX fund.
Oh, right. And really no update there other than that you did introduce the 2021 projects.
And then again, staff will be presenting them in more detail in
Right.
October.
Right.
And about mid-October, I'll share the draft engineering studies with the commissioners so that they can comment on them.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay. I think we're through this year's work plan. And now we could talk about the 2021 work plan. So Clover Ride, do we have a commissioner now that wants to be the lead in this? Since, let's see, Mindy, or did you want to be the lead on this one?
For next year's work plan?
For next year's Clover Ride work plan?
I'd be willing to do that.
Okay. Real good. And as we go through these, folks, I think this is kind of our last run through these before they go to council. Is that right, Andrew?
Correct. So as I just kind of scroll through here, everything in yellow is still up in the air. Well, really everything's up in the air, but the yellow are really things that have not, as far as I can tell, have not been finalized in previous discussions.
Okay.
The final plan has to be approved. We have to approve it at this meeting because they're due to admin by the 25th. And then they'll be presented, chairs will present their work plan proposals to council at the October 7th work session.
Okay, so what do we need to do as we look at each work plan item?
Sure. So what's left to do are the description of the initiative, the deliverable, a lead, a target completion date, and then the initiatives need to be ordered with the
By priority.
By priority, correct.
Okay.
So a reminder of what the current proposed initiatives are. We have Clover Ride, traffic safety reports, capital improvement projects, organized trash collection, traffic impact studies, travel demand management, and the street funding task force.
Okay.
I'd like to be on the garbage committee.
Well, before we go down to the garbage, maybe we can take these in order because I'm just. By the way, I'll just ask this question. Did anybody else attend Andrew's town talk last night?
I was there.
Okay. So the question that Scott answered around trash, that was mine, which makes me wonder if it should even be a work plan proposal. So let's try and maybe take these in order. So we've got a deliverable. So Andrew, I guess what I'm not clear about is you've got some stuff in yellow and you said the stuff that's in yellow is up in the air. Does that mean we need to do something about it or what?
I just want to make sure that don't worry about this stuff because this is what I fill in. It's just these three areas on the top here. And
okay.
In this case, the description here is pretty similar to, because this is an ongoing initiative. This
right.
language is basically identical to previous work plan. It's just the deliverable column is new in all of these.
Okay.
So I've tentatively filled in here what I see as a potential deliverable for this. But if the commission has other thoughts, it can certainly be changed. And actually, in this case, I would, knowing that, so our service contracts with DARTs expire in June. So I would suggest that Q2 would be the target completion date for this one.
Okay. And
am I reading this correctly that you're recommending a change to the description to be review and comment as opposed to review and evaluate performance?
Yeah, so kind of jumping on Eric's comments about how we tried a North Loop for 1 year, and unfortunately it just happened to overlap with the start of the pandemic. So we decided to cancel it. At that time, we had discussed potentially the possibility of reevaluating a North Loop in 2021. I have some concerns about whether or not I think it might be too soon to look at it in 2021. So my thought is just to stick with reviewing the existing Southdale service and continuing to serve on that advisory committee.
Okay. Anybody else? And Andrew, you're saying that the deliverable will be commission comments? That's the deliverable?
Right. So the only real deliverables that we provide to council regarding Cloveride are the comments that are the discussion that's had at these commission meetings, and then every year when we go before them to renew the contract, there's a staff report that goes with that. So any
Okay.
relevant commission comments would be included in that staff report.
Okay. Then I think we've got this one.
Changing the description to match the recommendation from Andrew.
Right. Yeah, if you're comfortable with that, Mindy.
Yeah, that's what I would suggest.
Yeah.
And actually, now that I think about it, since the service is, if we do renew the contract, it would last a year. Might be best to keep it at Q4.
Okay. So the next one, traffic safety reports.
Andrew,
Yes.
didn't we already assign leads for these already on our last meeting or the one before that?
Not that I recall.
I think some of them were put in. I'm just not sure.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, we did that, but okay, go ahead.
It would make sense to me that the chair would be the lead on this. Andrew, what do you think about that? Does it not matter?
I don't think it matters.
Okay.
So is this the one where you and I were together on, Lori?
I'm sorry?
Is this the one that you and I both were on?
I don't know.
I think it's one further down.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's traffic impact studies.
Correct. Okay. So
Yeah.
still, yeah, you have those already. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah. This is the traffic safety reports.
Yes, in general, Lori, to your question, I would suggest that if a commissioner is a lead on that commission, I would recommend that a commissioner only be a lead on one initiative. You can certainly participate in multiple, but I would suggest that the leads be as many different people as we can get.
Well, maybe we should come back to this one in terms of leadership, and because this is an ongoing thing, and I'm not sure that there's actually any action that a leader would need to take on this. Do you know what I'm saying, Andrew? I mean, it's like you just present the traffic safety reports and we review them.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree.
And you make sure that they're on the agenda each time so we don't forget them.
Yeah, that would be the only action of the chair, would be to make sure that they're on the agenda.
So leads would be then all.
Or just a chair.
That works too.
Yeah, if we need a lead.
Yeah, and I put I don't know, Andrew, because elections are coming up in February. Well, whatever. You can leave it that way. That's fine. Yeah, I think it goes with the role.
Sure.
All right. CIP. And this is another one in a funny sort of way, other than the fact that you bring them to us to review and comment on, that the commissioner doesn't really do anything about this. To
Right.
lead it. Well, you could make it the vice chair or something like that.
Good idea.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, trash collection. So the background is I asked a question about the trash collection. It was about more than trash collection, but I mentioned that we have so many garbage trucks. It was about the impact on our neighborhood streets of large vehicles, including trash collection. And Scott Neal decided to take that answer or take the question and went through kind of an explanation about why we can't really do anything to. He didn't exactly say we can't organize it, but he did say it's not likely that we can change it. Andrew, is that what he said?
So my takeaway is he brought up that the question has been included in a number of our quality of life surveys, and every year it seems to be pretty evenly split 50-50 between those who want to go to organized collection and those who would prefer to have the freedom of choice and the competitive prices that they have right now. Legally, there's a process that cities have to go through. They have to establish a formal committee to review the different options. So that can be kind of a lengthy process. But the way I understand this initiative is to be more on the. I understand the initiative that's being proposed to be more on the level of study and report rather than review and recommend. And I think if the commission sticks to that level of just looking at kind of the potential pros and cons of going to this rather than necessarily making hard recommendations to council, it might have a better chance of going through.
Okay.
I will say the EEC, they approved their work plan last week, and they were supportive they included this initiative in their work plan contingent on someone from the ETC leading it.
Okay, sounds good then. Let's leave it. So then the deliverable would be a report.
Right.
So what would the report include?
The impacts of organized trash collection. It makes sense to me that it would include the impact of unorganized trash collection also, so that there's some comparison. Or it's not unorganized, but it's.
Is it something that is measurable, what we can measure?
Don't know.
Okay.
And the deliverable would probably also include an outline of what the process would be to change it. If we see all these benefits of organized trash collection, then the report should also include what the process is to change it. Because that's what I heard from Scott is it's difficult because it includes some state laws that we have to abide by.
Agreed. Although I don't, that's, in comments below, he's saying, nope, the scope would really be specifically to investigate the benefits of organized trash collection and not really anything further.
Not recommending.
Right.
Yeah,
So that maybe it just would include next steps, not process. Suggested next steps.
I think that could be something you include in your report, Mindy. I just would be concerned that I think it's one thing to, there's a distinction between outlining what that process is and recommending that the city go forward with that process. And that nuance might get lost among some people.
In the work plan deliverable description.
Yeah.
Then I say we leave that to the committee in charge of this.
So then that's the question. Who would like to lead this?
I thought you wanted this one, Jill. Oop, you muted yourself. Jill, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. It seems like after, listening to Lori that this initiative is kind of a reach and may not lead to anything, which is fine. It was also mentioned that if you are a lead on something, you only should be a lead on one. And I'd still like to bring up the communications portion. So if, say, the high schoolers wanted to do communications, I could be the adult lead on that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm happy to work on this, but I don't think I would want to be a lead, but I would surely, I'm happy to contribute, but I also know, I think Kirk mentioned this in an email. Lori and Mindy, did you get that as well?
Well, what he said was, if the group doing trash collection could use my help, please include me. I'm interested in the research aspect, but he didn't say he wanted to lead it.
Okay, how about this? How about I'll take the lead on this if we decide not to do the media communications. Is that fair?
Sure.
Okay. And put a question mark behind that, Andrew.
And I'd agree from what Scott said, this sounds like a reach and a difficult one.
I agree.
But at the same time, I advocate for keeping it here because if we don't even do the initial investigation, nothing will ever happen on it for sure. And so, like, if we don't at least ask a few questions. What was that, Bokar?
I was going to say maybe a deliverable for this one would be to look at the policies that would be making it difficult, so we know about those policies for future.
Yeah, that would probably be in the following year. I mean, I think this one is really to look at the impact of probably the current system versus organized trash collection. And
because anecdotally, we're assuming there are benefits, but we don't have any data to back up at this point. We don't necessarily have the data that backs up that kind of anecdotal feeling we have that this would all be, that this would be a good idea.
Well,
or that it would have benefits.
It sort of makes mathematical sense to me that it would, in fact, make a difference. I mean, it seems like it's a math equation. The number of trucks that come through times whatever the impact that each truck has. So if 6 trash collectors are coming through every neighborhood as opposed to only 3, there would be a different impact. I mean, it just seems like it's a kind of a common sense thing.
It would be nice. Yeah, it would be nice to quantify that, and I think Kirk would be great at that, because I think the people that are opposed to it are thinking about service and relationships. So you'd have to present something to get them off that position. We had a little discussion around my neighborhood a few years ago on this, And it was sort of about 50-50, 50% of people kind of interested. The other 50% said, no, I love my trash guy. And the funny thing was, all those people that said that, they all had different companies.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, so it would be where I think we need the data to really push people to, you know, if we got anywhere,
Yeah.
probably need to be some data to move people off their current position. I think it's an interesting project.
Okay, well, let's leave it. Jill, thank you. You're in there in parentheses.
Okay.
Does the commission have a target completion date? Or anyone want to suggest a completion date?
End of August. End of September. What? Tell me, and the work plans are for the calendar year, or are they for the like October to October?
Calendar year, correct. January to December.
All right. Well, then I'd say end of the calendar year. Jill, does that sound right?
Yes, that sounds great.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. Okay, next. Okay, traffic impact studies. This will be included. I think that's right. Don't you think, Bokar?
That's what we discussed before.
Yeah.
Basically, my comments down here will elaborate to say that I'll forward traffic impact studies to the commission to get comments before it goes to planning and council. The process that we've kind of established last year.
Yep.
Hey, Andrew. Just in light of that last one, where the thing on the about the sidewalk, is that included in the traffic impact studies, or I just want to make sure that we're able to, I'm not saying assert anything over the planning commission, but make sure they're thinking about connecting sidewalks and not building sidewalks to nowhere as part of the development packages?
It's so it's if I remember right, it's generally not included necessarily in the traffic impact study, but in my response memo to the traffic impact studies, I look at both the traffic impact study and their proposed site plan to look at where they are proposing sidewalks or bike facilities. So it is kind of somewhat related to the deliverable in this initiative.
So like we've had I mean, I don't know if it's just, this is probably not really relevant to the work plan, but I know we had that conversation with the planning commission. There was this issue, there's been some other issues at the one up by like Super America by Jerry's, where there was the things where there were turn lanes that would sort of intersect in the dangerous areas. I mean, I feel like that should be part of what we look at too, but I don't know if that's relevant to this or relevant to another one of these.
You're talking about the intersection on 100, off of 100?
Yeah, there was that building that was put in and there was like a dueling left turn lane thing where there was some dangerous issues because one people were trying to get to one side of the road, the other people were trying to enter the new building. I don't know. I mean, I just feel like the way we intersect with the planning commission should also be how the site plans interact with the roadway. And I don't know if we need to comment on that or not, probably not. But I mean, I'm just pointing out that those are the ways in which I feel like our work is most relevant to the planning commission.
Sure. And when I bring the traffic impact studies to this commission, I generally try to bring the site plan as well so that you have that and can consider that as well. So for example, one of the last ones we looked at was on Valley View Road. And we had the conversation about where delivery vehicles were going to go and whether they were going to be blocking the bike lane or how far apart how close to the main entrance was the delivery vehicles going to be.
Okay. TDM.
In terms of deliverables, I'm not quite sure, but I think a report back to the council on how we're doing would be good. It may or may not include some recommendations too. Unless someone thinks there's something more definitive we should be aiming for.
Maybe a dashboard of how many policies have been created or how many of these TDM processes have been put in place.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, and remember, Boca, we talked about some other metrics too, like walkability scores and things like that we might put into that.
Yeah, you just start with a small dashboard and then you can add on to it as you go.
Yeah, that sounds actually really good. Are you still willing to serve, Bokar?
Sure, I'll be able to help.
Excellent.
Is there another one, Andrew, besides that?
Yes, the street funding task force.
Oh, yeah, right. That's you, Matt.
Yeah, I'm happy to keep doing it. I'll give you guys an update about how that's going. It sounds like we're going to try to meet in a couple of weeks here and at least start to try to hammer out a few ideas. I'm guessing that we're probably going to have something, hopefully, to council in Q1, or at least have I know we've got a work session scheduled, so we'll see how that all works out. But I'm hoping we can do that and wrap it up. There's a pretty wide variety of people's opinions about what direction it can go. So I don't know. I mean, we're not quite there yet. I'll just give you that much. And then I'll talk a little bit more about it later on when we get into chair and member comments.
Okay. Sounds great. So I think the question is, do we want to add back in? I mean, how many initiatives do we have, Andrew? Where are we on this?
7.
Okay.
It's the same number we have this year.
Okay. Do we want to add back in an education one? Is, I think, one of the questions. And then I know that Kirk and I are both interested in the boulevard trees. Jill, what do you think about education?
Well, I think it's a good idea. And in part, when we were talking to the communications department, Jennifer, she was talking about, transportation in the city of Edina not being sexy. And that's why they don't get a lot of hits or a lot of views. But I think if you created something that was driven by a younger generation, of which we have, and things that are relevant but funny but pertinent and, to be quite honest, a little bit entertaining, I think we could get the word out more about what we're doing, or bike safety, I guess. And it's relatively easy to do without a lot of time commitment for students. So I guess, what do you all think? So if I'm alone on it, I'd like to scrap it. I don't know are we planning to do like the tents again once we can meet in public?
The tents?
Yeah, so when it's like city streets? I cannot remember these names.
Open streets.
Open
streets and
bike to work day.
Right. It doesn't sound like there's much interest, so I think we should just table it. Just wipe it off.
So I do think that we do those things, but they're not, I guess they fell under that umbrella, so to speak. But Andrew, we can do things that aren't part of the initiatives as long as we're doing the initiatives. Is that right?
Yes, and I would say in the case of the two events that Jill mentioned, Open Streets and Bike to Work Day, those are activities that staff is already, like I would already be participating in those. So it's not that much of a stretch to bring it. I mean, even if it's not necessarily on the commission's work plan, I would bring it up to the commission and ask if the commission wants to be involved.
Right. Okay. So it's certainly possible to do some of those education posts, Jill, I think on behalf of the commission, but not have it be an initiative.
Sure, and really only if the students thought that this would be, a way to get involved or learn more about what we do and have some fun getting the word out. And so, maybe they can speak to this as well. If they want to do that, I'm happy to be I don't want to say adult because that's not the right word, but the person over 18 helping them.
So students, your thoughts?
Crickets usually means no, they're not interested.
Right. All right.
Wait. 1 second. What we were gonna do again? Sorry, I had to take a call really quickly. What was the students?
If students would help create social media posts regarding transportation education.
Yeah, I would be interested in that. I don't know about the other high schoolers, but I would be.
I would also be interested in that.
Okay, and then I'm happy to be the lead with them, Lori, and not have it an initiative, but a side.
Yeah. That sounds perfect, I think. Andrew, we're good with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, real good. And I think maybe we can do the same thing with the boulevard trees. Yes? I know Kirk and I are interested. Kirk did reach out to St. Louis Park to find out a bit about their boulevard tree program. And we're interested in finding out about neighboring cities' boulevard tree programs because we're interested in that. And I believe EEC is also interested in that from an environmental standpoint.
Yes, in fact, since you mentioned the EEC, they have an approved, they have a proposed initiative on their work plan to review and comment on staff's review of the existing tree ordinance. If you recall, last year there were 3 commissions that proposed some kind of initiative related to trees or boulevard trees or trees in the right of way, and they were removed from the commission work plans and put on the Park and Rec Department's work plan for this year. I'm not exactly sure how far they've progressed on that. I don't know how much. I would imagine that the pandemic had some effect on their ability to progress on that, but the EEC has an initiative plan for next year to review and comment on any changes or review that staff is making.
Well, and I think as Kirk and I have talked about it, it makes it we cannot wrap our heads around what why this would go to Park and Rec when we're talking about boulevard trees on our streets, because that's not their area, the streets. So I don't get it, but I know that Kirk and I will continue to work on that probably offline.
Hey, Lori.
Yeah.
It's Matt. I mean, I support boulevard trees. I do hope, though, that if we go forward with this, that we also look at the sightline impacts. We get a lot of those traffic safety things about rules and how we do that. If that makes sense. So we're not.
Absolutely. Issues. Yep. Okay, so Andrew, what's the only we just have to put these in priority order now?
Let's see. I'm assuming Q4 is okay for the TDM deliverable. Bruce.
Bruce?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, real good.
So yes, the only thing left is to order them.
Well, it seems really awkward to try and order them online in this format. Would it be, is it reasonable, Andrew, for you to put them in an order? I mean, like the ongoing work, are those high priorities or low priorities? I don't understand that. So maybe you could put them in an order and send them out to the group, and folks could have this conversation by email. Would that be reasonable?
We could do it that way, I suppose. We could, I mean, there's ways of, I could send out this list and everyone could send back in their preferred order, and then I determine what the, based on ranked choice voting or whatever, what's the most popular one.
Yeah.
Here's the list right here.
I was going to say, I mean,
okay.
Andrew, given on where you're at as far as your perspective on the inside, to me, it makes more sense to have you just order them in a priority that would make, I guess, the most effective or most impactful. I mean, I don't know, I think you'd have a lot more insight than we would, I guess.
I'm just a little bit stuck on the traffic safety reports, capital improvement projects. That's ongoing work. So is that high priority or is that low priority? I don't understand that.
I think last year our theory was we put them as the low priority because it was unlikely that council would take them off our work plan, and that if we put other things as lower priority, they might be things that council would recommend removing.
Well, and as we learned, it's not council at all that removes things. It's somebody else.
Possibly the city manager in his review before it goes to council. But in either case, putting the ongoing things that are unlikely to be removed as low priority might counter that.
That's true.
Right. So to that point, this is kind of the grouping that I see. You have these 5 are your ongoing initiatives that will last pretty much basically the whole year. You have the street funding task force, which is an ongoing one, but is, as far as I recall, I don't know if it's going to last the entirety of next year. My recollection, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, my recollection was that this task force would be coming up with recommendations next year or sometime before the end of next year.
I think Matt said in the spring.
Right. And then the organized trash collection is the only one would be a new project. I guess it's the only one technically that's a project rather than an ongoing initiative.
I mean, I'm not sure about the spring. I'm just saying with street funding task force, it could happen, but there's still a lot of division.
Okay, I'm good with that order.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? Okay. Real good.
So I just need a motion and a vote to approve.
Oh yeah. And is there a motion to approve the initiatives for 2021?
I make a motion that we approve this work plan as currently written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Then let's do the roll call vote.
Commissioner Aller?
Aye.
Commissioner Kane?
Aye.
Commissioner Lafferty? Oh, we lost Peter. Commissioner McCarthy?
Aye.
Commissioner Plum-Smith?
Aye.
Chair Richmond?
Aye.
Commissioner Rothruff?
Aye. Sorry, I was muted.
Commissioner Shearer.
Aye.
Approved.
Real good then.
I'll finish revising and send off to the entire commission.
Okay. The regular meeting date for 2021?
Yes, so this is, the commission is required to approve the proposed dates for the following year. Last year we did this in November, but I just thought we could get a jump on it this year. So recall that the Transportation Commission meets the third Thursday of each month, which are the dates reflected here. The one exception is the October meeting, which the commission traditionally pushes back to the fourth Tuesday so it doesn't conflict with MEA conference.
I'm actually just looking up the Jewish holidays for 21. So if you give me a minute.
My wife and I would very much appreciate that as well.
Yeah, it's slow. I'm scrolling through everything. September 6th. So that looks good. And then Yom Kippur is September 15th. So probably the 16th is okay. It's break the fast for most of us at that point, but it's doable. What do you think, Matt?
I mean, we could probably manage. I don't know. That's probably one I would miss, to be honest. But
Yeah, I missed that one too.
I'm sorry, what's
So I propose we consider moving September to the fourth Thursday for that reason.
what's the holiday that it conflicts with?
Yom Kippur. So technically Yom Kippur ends at sunset on the 16th. The problem is we've been fasting for 24 hours, and so we do break the fast when the sun sets. And so
yeah, we usually do an event with people, like kind of a thing.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, it would be my preference. I might miss it if that were the case. It would be my preference if we could move it to the fourth Thursday in September, but it's not as critical as if it were actually on Yom Kippur.
Are you saying, Lori, you want Andrew to move all these meetings away from all the religious holidays? So is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that it would be like having a meeting on Christmas or Easter if it were.
Oh.
So
okay.
I'm not talking about all the holidays. I'm talking about the high holidays. Yeah.
Okay, the high holidays. Okay,
Yeah.
I get it. Thank you for explaining.
And Andrew, I would note that I just looked up, this is weird, but apparently the October meeting wouldn't actually conflict with MEA because on the 2021-2022 school calendar, it's October 13th through the 15th.
Really?
Because I think the first is a Friday, so it's the third weekend.
Oh, that makes sense.
So it's like the one time out of 7 years that it wouldn't.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know.
So you could switch the fourth Thursday September and keep it in October, although then we'd meet really close together.
So that would have happened in October, November.
Right. That's true.
The nice thing is that means it's 1 month that we have an exception instead of 2 months.
Right.
Although the other one that, oh, no, never mind. Yeah, actually, no, wait, which one am I looking at? Is it January 2021? What's our January meeting date?
21st.
21st.
That's either President's or MLK weekend, and there's no school there. So I don't know. Usually we go out of town. Doesn't matter to me. I'm just pointing it out that it's a travel opportunity for people too.
if they're traveling.
We drive to Colorado.
Ah,
Is school off the Friday before that or the Friday after that? MLK is the 18th of January,
Oh, maybe I'm wrong.
at least according to my calendar.
I guess the 22nd is a no school day. That's really weird. Never mind. I don't know. Just very strange. They do funny things sometimes on these school calendars.
so what do we need to do, Andrew? Do we need to make a motion to move the September meeting a week later, or should we just keep it that way and know that there'll be a couple of us that'll miss?
It's up to the commission. The commission can either approve the proposed meeting dates as presented, or someone can move to approve them with changes.
Make the changes.
So what are the change before?
For the sake of
somebody moves it?
continuing this discussion, I will make a motion
Okay, real good.
to approve the meeting dates, moving the September meeting to the fourth Thursday, and moving the October meeting back to the third Thursday.
Okay, is there a second?
Aye. Eric.
Moved and seconded. Let's vote.
Right. So just so everyone understands, that means the September meeting would be on the 23rd, and the October meeting would be on the 21st.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a vote. Commissioner Aller,
Aye.
Commissioner Kane.
Aye.
Lost my screen here for a sec. There we go. Peter's gone. Commissioner McCarthy,
Aye.
Commissioner Plum-Smith,
Aye.
Richmond,
Aye.
Commissioner Ruthruff,
Aye.
Commissioner Shearer.
Aye.
Approved.
Real good. We have meeting dates. Then I think we're into chair and member comments, starting with you, Matt, on the street funding task force update.
Yeah, so we've been meeting, hold on, let me just close the door. I'm getting some noise. Sorry, my stepson's watching MacGyver now, so I need to sometimes turn off the dramatic music. Anyway, we've been meeting about every 2 weeks. So we've probably met 4 or 5 times. I missed last meeting since the last time I talked to you guys. We've done a number of different meetings with the city attorney. We've met with the city finance director. We've investigated a few funding options. Of the members in the committee, there's a pretty wide range of what people are interested in. I would say that it goes from we should get rid of assessments entirely to stay where we are currently. So the kind of largely the 3 funding streams we're looking at are assessments, implementing some sort of a franchise fee, or raising the property tax. One interesting thing that they did come up with is that assessments have varied pretty substantially from area to area due to something called a subcut, which depends on the soil in each individual neighborhood. So currently the city pays, or the residents when they're assessed, it pays for their roadway reconstruction and then a portion of gravel underneath, and then the subcut, however far that has to go down. So that's one area I think there's some kind of consensus in the commission that maybe the city will should consider funding some of that through the property tax so that it makes it so it's more even across the board. And again, as an aside, for those of you who may not be familiar with this, about half the city has been completed over the last 25 years so far, and there's still another half to go, which would take about another 25 years. So, there's been a lot of questions about whether it's legal to have variable rates based on property value, which is not really the case. So there's some areas like Parkwood Knolls where there's really expensive houses next to $500,000 houses. So we're trying to balance a lot of different things and making sure that it seems equitable to most people. So we've kind of agreed on a mission statement. One idea that I personally floated was the potential of, maybe continuing with assessments, and then also implementing some sort of a franchise fee that would create a trust fund into the future. So 25 years from now, we would have a pot of money to maybe fund these street reconstruction projects so we could move away from what we've been doing. You know, Edina a number of years ago went to the legislature to try to pass something called a street utility fee, which would have been a fee for every household, and then that would collectively fund everything, which I think is personally more fair because you're paying for the damage that happens to the roads while you happen to live there, as opposed to paying the assessment if you happen to be unlucky enough to be there when the roads are reconstructed. So the next meeting, we're going to do a longer meeting. Actually, we're going to meet in person at the Public Works facility, which apparently has a 100-person classroom. So we're going to sit down, whiteboard it out, and hopefully try to make a little headway. So far, it's just been really information gathering. And there's a few people who are really hung up on trying to not do assessments ever, and others who, you know, have paid them that would be frustrated if half the city doesn't ever have to pay them. So it's a hard balancing act, I'd say, between taking care of those people who've already paid it, making sure people pay their fair share, and then also making sure people aren't unduly impacted by sometimes upwards of a $30,000 assessment, which is a lot on a $500,000 home.
Okay, thank you. Well, while you have the floor, do you have any other comments you want to throw in?
That's pretty much it right now. So it's been an interesting group to work with, and it's been a fun opportunity to look into that and to try to look into ways to make how we fund our streets a little bit cleaner.
Great. Well, it's great to have you on the task force.
Thanks.
And then should we just go in order? Andrew, you can just do the roll, and folks can do their member comments in alphabetical order to include the student commissioners, please.
Yeah, and Lori, do you maybe want to explain for the commissioners kind of what shared member comments is for?
Okay. Shared member comments is that time of the meeting where we get to share observations around transportation in Edina, or, you know, that we are possibly reading online, interesting articles, points of interest related to transportation. Does that make sense? Is that right, Andrew?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would agree. It's also an opportunity for if commissioners have questions too, for whether it's to other commissioners or to staff. You don't have to have a comment at every meeting. So if you have no comments, you can certainly say that. But with that, let's start with Mindy.
All right. First, I want to again welcome our student commissioners. It's exciting to have 3 of you. We've usually only had 2, and so I look forward to hearing your input as we go along. Andrew, I thought you did a great job with the town talk last night. I don't know if we have any more information on exactly how many participants there were, because that was one of the things that our education team was curious about as a measure.
Yeah, I have some, let's see.
I asked the question, actually, how many participants? And Jennifer answered it.
Okay, so of all the questions, Lori, it could be that you and I asked all of them, because I asked the 2 questions to intentionally get Andrew and Chad to talk about the things I was excited about, and you both answered my questions perfectly and mentioned the things that I wanted you to say.
Good. Talking to Jennifer this morning, so the Facebook live stream reached 1,000 people. That doesn't necessarily mean 1,000 people watched it, just means it showed up on 1,000 people's news feed. When I checked this morning, there were just under 500 views. And through WebEx, there were 10 people that were watching through WebEx. And we don't have stats on how many people were watching on Comcast.
Yes, thank you. And do we have any idea how that compares to other city meetings, or
I don't, to be honest. I could check into that.
But I think it's also available for people to go back and watch it, and which is why I asked the question, so that you would talk about the equity criteria, and that you would what was the other one I asked? Oh, the citizen participation, because I thought those are both good things for people to hear that otherwise weren't part of it, that's a big part of the process in deciding how we do things.
Yep, and you're right. The videos will be up. It's up on Better Together, and it's on YouTube. And the Q&A section is still open, so residents can still submit questions for another week.
I also watched the AARP Livable Communities Transportation Workshop. They had it. It was Tuesday and Wednesday, and I was a very passive participant. That I was working on other things, but I sort of had it playing in the background. But I'm hoping they will post those things, because there were a few notes I made that I wanted to go back to, because they did these showcases of different communities just doing like a 30 seconds on some of the things that they're working on, that I thought were really good and would be good examples in the future. There was lots of conversation about equity, and that highlighted how important it is that we're doing more to apply that equity criteria. And I thought there were some interesting comments in that sometimes race coincides with income in some things they look at, and sometimes it doesn't. And some of those criteria, that they were looking particularly at older adults because it's AARP. But many of those things then made me think about, other people with differing abilities, that I think will just be informative as we move forward. And one comment I'd never thought about was that wayfinding signs are helpful to people with dementia. It was like, oh, now there's something I just hadn't thought of. And the idea that we now have a new definition for transportation people to think about when we talk about safety, that in an era of COVID, we used to always think about safety just in terms of whether, vehicles were conducted safely, or whether our roadways were adequate for vehicles to be conducted safely. And now suddenly we have to worry about people's personal safety and sanitizing and social distancing when we look at our public transportation. So the one other question that then, in looking at all the equity things, Andrew, I was wondering if we can apply the new equity criteria both to past projects with our PAX fund and see how they stand up. And then I was also wondering if there's a way we can apply the criteria to the different areas of the city. I know you gave us all the individual mappings of the criteria, but I wondered if there was a way to do a combined mapping. More than anything, I was thinking, is there a way to highlight particular areas of the city that may not have received enough investment when we look at our equity criteria now that we want to prioritize, that we may not have been able to see that in any way in the past? It might be a more complicated data manipulation than even you are capable of doing.
Yeah, I guess I'd say I am planning to apply the equity criteria to past projects to see how they stack up. And looking at the varying levels of investment around the city could also be an interesting thing to look at.
Anything else, Mindy?
Thank you. No, that was a lot for me tonight.
Yeah.
Bokar?
No, I really don't have much, except I really would like to see that data, just so I can understand what I missed, okay, when it happened.
Are you referring to Hibiscus and West Shore?
Exactly.
Okay, I'll follow up with you.
Thank you.
Peter?
Didn't we lose Peter?
Oh, that's right, we did. Bruce?
Nothing for me today.
Bill?
Nothing for me. All good.
And Matt, you didn't have anything else?
Nope, I already went. I don't drive very much anymore, but when I do, there's no rush hour, I'll tell you that much.
Nihar?
Nothing for me today.
Nothing from me.
Anand?
Nothing for me either.
Lori?
A couple things. One is that I have notes from Kirk. So a couple things. One is Kirk, I think you three students know him. He attended, I think, your orientation. He's super excited that you've joined and enjoyed meeting with you, Andrew. He particularly appreciates that you all have interests in various modes of travel. So he looks forward to having you be engaged and working with you, making a positive difference in the community. So there's that. And Kirk also says it would be interested in how we might, this is for you, Andrew, how we might have access to volumes and crash statistics, as well as other measures. So as he says, we can more meaningfully review the traffic safety report recommendations. And he gives the example of the data behind B1 for this month. Staff recommends no action. Intersection layout, traffic volumes, and crash history do not warrant changing the current stop and stop control situation. I think, is that the Hibiscus one?
No, I think B1, I can't remember which one B1 was.
Well, anyway. So that's, he just wonders if there's a way that we can have to that. Okay, that's it, I think, from Kirk. I would echo Mindy. I thought you did an excellent job on the town talk, which was great. I'm curious about why you're still at work at 8:30 and not wearing a mask.
I am in an enclosed office.
Uh-huh.
So the city's policy is that if we're able to maintain social distance in our offices or cubes, then we don't. I have my mask here, and every time I walk out of the office, I put it on.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's good to know. So the city offices are, I mean, I've seen a lot of cars in the parking lot, so they must be being used. Let's see, did I have anything else? I'm on the porch at the cabin where it is now like 36 degrees, so I'm freezing. And then last but not least, Eric, thank you again.
Sure. Thank you all for volunteering with me to be on the Transportation Commission. I joined because I wanted to do something to sort of improve my community and meet my community. I think you're all doing really good work. To the new student members, I want to say, please help this group learn how to communicate with people your age, because we forget you a lot. We think about big things and people who own property and have money to change things, and we're not that good at communicating with people your age. It's been a pleasure for me to be a part of all this with you guys for the last 3.5 years. I just want to say that I'm going to be still involved in transportation in my other volunteer gig, where I'm the content manager for Streets MN. So if any of you want to connect with the community, other than writing about the Sun Current, if you want to get to something a little bit broader, and you want to write about the good things you're doing here, I hope to see you over there. And good luck to all of you.
Real good. Andrew, I think it's yours.
All right. As we discussed, the town talk was last night. I think it went pretty well. Talked about a whole slew of topics. Like I said, I mentioned the viewership stats, and the video is available on YouTube and bettertogetheredina.org. And residents can continue to submit questions through the Q&A module on Better Together through September 23rd. I'll also say that staff is thinking about continuing town talks for into next year. So we're starting to think about what topics residents might want staff to present on. You recall this year there were 4 town talks planned. One of them got canceled, but the 3 that were held were about public safety, housing, and then transportation. So if you have any suggestions of topics that you might want to hear staff talk about or hold town hall meetings about, feel free to send those my way. Staff is scoping out improvements to the Wooddale Avenue Bridge over Minnehaha Creek. This is a historical bridge. The masonry walls and the railings are deteriorating, and some of the recent flooding that we've had has caused some additional damage. So the city would like to apply for grant funding through MnDOT to repair or replace the bridge. Chad Milner presented this kind of a sketch plan to the Heritage Preservation Commission last month, and they were generally supportive, but they wanted to make sure that the inspection documentation that we had supported whether we repair the bridge or replace it. They just wanted to make sure that we had the proper documentation to support that. The Transportation Commission will have an opportunity to weigh in on some of the functional components of a new bridge, including sidewalks, bike lanes, parking lanes, street widths, those kind of things, at a later date. We haven't quite determined what that date is, but we also anticipate that there'll be opportunity for broader public engagement into what the components of that bridge are. And then the last 2 things I'll say, like I mentioned before, October 7th is the work session where chairs will present proposed work plans for next year to City Council. And then lastly, our next meeting on October 22nd, it has been determined that will also be a virtual meeting. And that's all I have.
As an aside, Andrew, I hope that portage docks are included as part of the bridge reconstruction.
What docks?
Portage docks for the canoes.
Oh.
It's a joke, but kind of.
Noted.
Okay, well, with that, are we ready to take a motion for adjournment?
Sorry, I just had one question. Aren't there actually 2 bridges where Wooddale crosses the creek? Is this the one that's by the church there?
Yes.
The south
the
of it? Okay.
The one by St. Stephen's Church, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, just south of Wooddale, just south of 50th on Wooddale.
Thank you. Sorry, Laurie.
That's okay.
Then I could make a motion to adjourn.
So you could, but
I'm making a motion to adjourn as long as I've interrupted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Andrew, would you take our last vote roll call?
Commissioner Aller?
Aye.
Commissioner Kane?
Aye.
Commissioner McCarthy?
He's muted, and I don't see his, there he goes.
Sorry. Aye.
Commissioner Plum-Smith?
Aye.
Chair Richmond?
Aye.
Commissioner Ruthruff?
Eric, it's your last vote.
Aye. Sorry, I was muted.
Commissioner Shearer?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
We'll miss you, Eric.
Yep.
Yeah, me too.